I love a BMW i3. I think they're brilliant electric cars and they've proven really popular. BMW made over 200,000 of these now. They've been in production a few years, and over that time they've increased the battery capacity of these vehicles. So what we've done here today is bring out three examples of each size battery that you can get with a BMW i3, and we're going to run them until they run out. We're going to see then exactly what they can do in a real world scenario. As ever with electric cars, there's quite a lot of variables, so here we're going to run them in convoy at the same time, same speed, on the same journey, and give them a real good comparison of exactly which version will get you how far. So with the BMW i3s, there's a couple of versions of each. Until recently you can get pure battery, or you can get what they call the REX, or the range extender versions, which have a small motor, 650cc, under the back floor, which is just a small petrol engine that acts as a generator and means you can carry on once the battery is depleted. They've removed that recently because the batteries have just got bigger and bigger. But anyway, I'll tell you what we've got here today. This version is a car that we've had in the company for a while. You can see it's got our stickers on it and we love it. It's been a brilliant car. It's a 2015 60 amp hour car, which actually has a 22 kilowatt hour battery with about 18 kilowatt hours usable. It's a few years old, so we'll see how this fares. These ones are really good value on the used market now. The non-range extenders are down to about £10,000, with the range extenders costing a little bit more. So really good, affordable electric car. Good to see exactly what it does. So this one's a 2018, which is labelled as the 94 amp hour version, which is actually a 33 kilowatt hour battery with about 27 kilowatt hours usable. This is a range extender as well, so it has that motor under the back floor. That costed a little bit of range compared to one that doesn't have that engine again. But let's see what it does. Then we have the latest version. This is the 120 amp hour, a 2020 car. So this car has a 42 kilowatt hour battery, of which about 38 kilowatt hours are usable. So this is the furthest an i3 can go, the longest range you can get. This one is not a range extender. Like I said, they removed the range extender engine from the specification of the i3. There is also a BMW i3S, which we don't have here today, but they have slightly less range than this. So this one is the furthest a BMW i3 should be able to go. Let's see what it does. Okay, so that's the lineup. It's 9 degrees Celsius today, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So a little bit chilly, but the sun's out, it's dry, there's no wind. We're going to be driving in convoy, so we're driving the same route at the same time, at the same speeds. Then you've got a route which is going to combine about 30% country driving, kind of B and A roads. We've got about 30% of motorway or dual carriageway driving, and then the rest is going to be city driving. So we're trying to do a mixture to simulate real world driving conditions. We're not going to put them in eco mode. We're going to have heating or air conditioning on as we need them, so it's real world. We're not going for maximum range out of these. We really want to get a comparison in the real world. We could easily get more range, but there's lots of variables to that, and I want to give more of a real world simulation in mixed driving conditions. So that's what we've got. Let's get on with it. And yes, by the way, we've checked the tyre pressures on all of them. They're all identical.
Love you now.
Just pulling away now. So it is about 8 degrees Celsius, even come up to 9 degrees, and that's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It's dry, there's no wind, very nice conditions. A little bit colder, and as we know, when it's warmer, the cars are more efficient. We're not going for ultimate long range here. We're just going for real world range, what they can get in mixed driving conditions. I'm not going to use Eco Pro mode or anything like that. Just normal driving mode. So the BMW i3 does have an Eco Pro mode, which enables a few more miles of range because it makes things like the climate control a bit more efficient, for example. But when you get in the car and start it, it defaults to normal mode. Just leave it in that. So this car, which is the oldest of the cars, our own 2015 with a 60 amp hour battery, this had an indicated range on electric of 68 miles. If I switch to Eco Pro, it shows about 73, 74. So that's an idea of the difference you can gain. But as I say, normal conditions. Yeah, well, I thought a range test video with these cars would be a nice, easy, quite short day. But of course, because we're doing a lot of city driving, it actually taken quite a long time. So I think this is going to turn out to be quite a long day. But yeah, here we go. We've done nearly one complete lap. So when we finish a lap back to our unit, we would have completed about 37 miles. At the moment, we're just coming through the lovely Christchurch, which is just a beautiful, beautiful place. And again, when you come through places like this, Jaguar I-Post, it makes you think, yeah, I'm glad I'm driving an electric car. We've done one lap now and just had a quick pit stop back at our unit for a toilet break, and that was a 40-mile lap. And the older 60 ampere hour i3 that I'm in had used 50% of its battery. So in theory, should do 2 laps, 80 odd miles or something very close to 80 miles. So not too bad. I think what we're realising is it's going to take quite a while when you're largely city driving and not just on the motorway. It's quite a few hours of driving in a day. I think this could be a long day. The i3 might be a city car, but it has more than enough oomph to bring itself straight up to motorway speeds on a slip road. It's quite a nippy car. And so now we're joining the dual carriageway section. So we're going to be on here at 70 miles per hour and see just how this affects the range. This will be the least economical for this car. And I think on the motorway is where the i3 probably is not at its best. It's perfectly fine on a motorway, but I think if you were doing motorway, you know, all day, every day, it's probably better cars for that in terms of comfort. It's got those narrow tyres, very direct steering and quite high side, so it sort of feels like you can be blown around or move around a little bit on the motorway compared to some other cars. Like I say, it's perfectly fine, but for motorway journeys every day, I'd probably say there's other options available to you there. But it's quiet, it's comfortable, and it certainly still has plenty of performance to get up there and mix in the outside lane. So we're just going through town, and my wife and daughter are currently sat outside a cafe just over here. Can you chuck a sandwich through the window? We're doing a range test, we can't stop. The 60 amp hour has just expired its battery, so 75.8 miles, and I'll just pull in to show it's just expired its battery. But of course this is a Rex, so the Rex engine has popped on, and I'll show you with my phone now that I've pulled over. The Rex engine has come on, so I've got 76.3 miles showing now because I couldn't pull over back there. But at 75.8 the Rex engine came on, but it still had 3 miles remaining in the battery at that, so it didn't quite go to 0 and then the engine came on. I don't know if you can hear it, it's just chugging away at the back here. You can hear it when you're stationary, you can't really hear it when you're moving. But the EPA range for this car on the battery is 72 miles. Actually, we did manage to top that, and this is the oldest car as well, a few years old, so it can still do sort of 75 miles on the battery only. Now we're quite close to completing lap 2, so our unit is just up here. We'll go there and see where we're at with the other 2. So shall we carry on with this and see how far we can now go with the range extender? Yeah, it's probably a good idea, isn't it? Let's try that. It's taken quite a long time, this, because it's quite slow driving through town all the time. So let's get back and then we'll see how we're going with the other ones. I've now switched into the 2018, the dark blue one, which is the 94 AH i3. And so after 76 miles, the 60 done its battery, it was out. It still showed 3 miles on the battery, and then the range extender engine cut in. So if it didn't have the range extender engine, it would be able to do a few more miles before it'd run out of its battery. So probably 80 quite comfortably. And in fact, if you then goes beyond 0, maybe a few more. With the biggest battery car, the non-range extender, I will run that until it is done and completely expired. But let's carry on. This blue one, the 94, so this still shows about 50% battery, basically 67 miles of range. So whilst the 60's out, the 94 still has 67 miles of range after 77 miles. Let's carry on, see how we go. This is the thing with new Forest, there's loads of ponies. Hello mate, you alright? Good boy. Got to drive very carefully through the forest. All these ponies just walk around all over the road. What a nice area. So that's the 94 amp hour done. So out of its 27 kilowatt usable, it covered 131 miles before it had to turn its Rex engine on. And that still had an indicated 7 miles in the drive battery. So if it was a non-Rex, it would have done even more, probably 140 miles quite comfortably, I think. Its EPA rating is 97 miles. So quite happily it did more than that. And doing some really quick maths in my head, I was thinking, well, 27 kilowatt hours usable. I had a little bit left, so let's say 25 kilowatt hours used for 131 miles. It means that 131 miles really can't cost you more than about £2.50 in electricity. And if you have an overnight sort of agile tariff with cheaper electricity, well, it could cost you either nothing or £1 or £1.50. So yeah, very efficient, very cheap to run. Right, so the next part is down to the 120 amp hour car. That now has 38 miles left on it. Sorry, 35 miles left on it. The original car, the 60 amp hour, is running on its Rex engine, but still going. We're running that on the petrol, so that's running as a generator. That has 39 miles left on it. So will the 60 amp hour keep going before or after the 120 has completely expired of its electricity? What I'm going to do is drive that one now until it is done, dead, can't do any more. Let's see exactly what we can get out of it. And it's now raining. This is now the biggest battery available in the i3, 120 amp hour, and I'm going to drive it until it dies, basically. It's done 134 miles now. It has indicated just under a quarter of its charge left. It doesn't give me an exact percentage on the display, but just under a quarter, and just under 40 miles out of that. So let's see what it does. And I want to just literally expire this until it can drive no more. So I'm going to drive around and then end up back at our unit somewhere quite close for when it does conk out and cannot do any more. But we've been very impressed with it. What I would say is, again, like the others really, it drives the same. Again, it's got the newer version of the iDrive. This is the 2020 car, slightly different trim inside, but it feels very similar. I think you can just about feel it's a little bit lighter without that little engine under the back floor, but they're all very similar. So I think this weighs about 1300 kilograms, so fairly light because it's got this carbon fibre chassis, but we'll talk about that in another video. It is raining now. I think it's been quite an efficient day. The temperatures have been okay. The cabin heaters haven't really had to work. In fact, it's been air conditioning most of the time, and I think it's been a fairly efficient run, and in fact we've exceeded the EPA ratings on the cars without actually even trying. But it is raining now, and that can affect efficiency. So let's see what we get out of this with now getting colder and raining. And then we've got our old own company car, the 60, running on its Rex engine. Let's see what, whether that, with its battery, which did 75 odd miles and now running on its little petrol engine, which to fill up is about £10, by the way, 9 litre tank. Although in the USA, I think it's a 7 litre tank, if I'm correct. Somebody will probably comment below to confirm exactly. So will that, with its battery and petrol combined, be able to cover more miles than the biggest battery only i3? About to find out. 15 miles of range left after covering over 150 miles. So I'm heading back to work now. So that obviously there's a charger there. I'd want to then drive around the industrial estate until it conks out. There's 15 miles of range left and 15 miles back to work, so I do hope it's not being inaccurate in what it allows. We'll find out.
Hello.
Hey Gintz, how's it going?
Very good, very good. How are you?
Well, I've got that it's 11.2 miles to get back to our unit, and I've got 11 miles of range, so get it.
Oh yeah, that's what we like.
So what have you got with your Rex?
I got 16 miles with petrol and extra 3 miles in a battery.
What's it doing with the battery? Just keeping that kind of 3 miles of buffer in the drive battery, is it?
It sort of drops from, like it goes from 1 to 4 miles, but most of the time it's around 3 miles here.
Okay. Well, sounds like you're going to make it. I'm going to be pretty tight, but there's got to be a buffer beyond 0, surely. We're about to find out.
We'll find out.
And what's it going to do? Is it just going to conk out suddenly, or is it going to ease to a stop? No, I don't know. We'll find out. Okay.
We'll see, yeah.
We're going to start. I've still got my climate control on. It's still driving with full power. I've just got a little hazard symbol on the dash to warn me that it's a bit low, but driving absolutely fine. And that one's been the same, hasn't it? On the Rex, you said it was still driving same as normal?
Oh yeah, there's no power difference whatsoever. Whenever Rex kicks in, it's like same, no difference at all.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. This is fine at the moment. Aircon's on, climate's on. If I'm getting really tight, I'll turn it off, but I'm carrying on, I'm confident. I think we'll be all right. All right, speak to you in a minute.
It's fine, yeah. So, see you later.
You'll see me by the side of the road in a minute. 165.5 miles, and I have a range of 0. It's just clicked onto 0, but it's still going. So I've just come back to the kind of industrial estate that our showroom and warehouse is on. It's still going. Do you know what? It even feels like it still has the power there. It's not limited power yet or anything like that. So I think I'm just going to carry on driving and see what it does.
A35 in
traffic
is partially blocked at the B.
There's my showroom. Let's carry on around the estate. And do you know what? The 60 Rex is still behind me. So he, last time I spoke to him, had a range of like 2 miles, 3 miles on the drive battery showing, and similar on the petrol gauge showing. Let's see which one carries on and how long for. Only one way to find out. But I think just to play safe, I'm going to loop around in this local area now and not stray too far from our chargers at work, so at least I can be towed or pushed back from here. I've covered 168.5 miles. It is reduced power now. Gintz behind me in the Rex has got hazard lights on, so I think he is literally, I don't know if you can see through the back window there, he is literally at walking pace now. So I think we're going to call it quits for the range extender, the original 60, the oldest car here. So obviously he's had to use the tank of petrol as well. Yeah, he's literally walking pace now. I can still drive okay. I've got limited power, but I can still do 30 miles an hour, I think, if I want to. I'm just going to see how let's do a little loop. Fantastic turner circle on these, look. There he is. He's literally walking, jogging pace, I should say. Are you going to make it back?
I think, but yeah, that's it.
I think you'll call it quits there, yeah. Okay, I'm still going. So there's Gintz. He's stuck. We're on our industrial estate. It's quiet. It's the end of the day now, so he's not causing any obstruction. And he's going to get himself pushed back. But I'm still rolling. I've got a range of 0, limited power, but I can still do, 30 miles an hour. No problem. See what I can eke out of it. And that's it. 172.7 miles. And I'm at a complete stop. It cannot move anymore. I just drifted over to the side of the road. The last bit actually died a little bit quicker. When I've done this with some other cars, Tesla and Polestar, they lose more and more power until you can still just about eke it along, and then it just gradually declines. With this, it was a little bit sharp. It lost power, and I've gone, what was that, 7-8 miles beyond 0. But I could still drive at 30, 35, and then suddenly I turned around, and then suddenly that was it. I just coasted to the side. So that last bit was fairly sudden, to be honest. But overall, yeah, that's it. I'm only a couple of 100 yards from our unit, so we'll push it back there, get it on charge. 172.7 miles, BMW i3 120 AH.